Good afternoon and welcome to the celebration for Susie. In just a few more minutes, we'll turn the service over to our celebrant, Wendy. We would like to ask those who have cell phones, will you please make sure they're on silent or vibrate at this time. Thank you.
When Susie's children asked her, "What's our heritage?" her response was always the same: Arkansas hillbilly. For some, the description hillbilly is thought of as a derogatory statement, but to Susie Simms, hillbilly meant all the positive things in life. Those things that author Sky Moody found and wrote about in her book, Hillbilly Women. Spending time with the women of the Appalachian Mountains, Sky found them to be generational warriors who are strong-willed, courageous, resourceful, anti-racial, who value honest labor, put family and faith first, hold themselves and others in high esteem, are dignified, and who speak for themselves. Characteristics that have been found in hundreds of Southern women throughout our country. Susie Simms was certainly one of them. A proud Southern woman born in Arkansas, Susie would be raised in Michigan. Of Slick and Pauline Pieper's children, Robert, Billy, Susie, Mitty, and Brenda, she was number 3 of their 5 and the oldest of the girls. She was the troublemaker, the smart mouth, the child who told her teachers just what she thought, and the one whose sisters let choose school clothing first, ensuring she got exactly what she wanted. Susie was also the one to modify her sisters' matching outfits so they didn't look exactly alike. Just review the family portrait in which she and Mitty look almost alike. So why are they not exactly alike? Susie tore the cherry off of Mitty's dress. Saying this, one may think the family didn't get along, but that is far from the truth. The Pieper family had a unique dynamic. All the children idolized Slick and Pauline, and they were deeply loyal to their parents and to one another. They were a family that stuck together like glue, and should you mess with one of them, you messed with all of them. They were an extremely close-knit family, not just in the nuclear sense, but also with their extended family and friends, holding regular gatherings where all were welcomed and included. Giving more insight into family and sisterhood, Mitty wished to speak today about her sister Susie, and thus she has asked her son Aaron to do so.
This is a letter from Susie to her family. After my stroke, our family dynamics changed in many, many ways. Your dad never wavered in my care or his love for me, and I know it wasn't always easy for either of us. We both accepted our new path of life without anger, bitterness, or regret. We shared true love every day of our lives. The passing of your dad changed me mentally, emotionally, and physically. I was scared, uncertain, feeling lost, and heartbroken. I had to depend on my family helping me make decisions, praying they were the best for me. I thank God I had a family that loved me, gave me comfort, making sure I had the best care. As we grow old, we worry that our children might have to place us in a home. I'm thankful every day that I never had to move into one. Tina and Tim, I'm grateful and humbled that you opened your home, giving me a home I felt safe, wanted, and loved. Your 24/7 care allowed me to be comfortable, showing some independence as much as my body could handle. I know that your dad was happy and wanted me to be there because he knew you would take good care of me. Thank you so much, and I love you always. Jeff, I look forward to the days you checked my blood, took me to the store, out to eat, or anywhere I asked you to take me. The times watching or going to ball games, our pedicures together, those gals will miss you. Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm sure you'll be back this time. Thank you so much. I love you very much. Dawn, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, thanks for supporting me through my good and bad days. Your visits always brightened my days and made me feel needed. All of you brought laughter, happiness, and love into my life. I've been blessed with a generous, caring, and loving family. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Taco, everyone knows I've never been an animal lover. I actually have to say a quick side note in that last night, I asked who on earth names their dog Taco. And typical of Susie and my conversations with her over the last 10 years, of course, the dog's name's Tucker, and she called it Taco because that's what she heard. Just typical Susie. I quickly became a believer that a dog is a man's best friend. He would spend every day in my lap showing me his love, was unconditional, bringing me pure comfort, whether I was having a good day or a bad day. Thanks for opening my heart to you. Your dad and I raised our family with love, and prayer is you continue to spread that love, compassion to everyone you meet along your journey. I love you all. I'll miss you all. I'm watching over you until I see you again. Love, Mom and Nana.
Being skinny as a rail, headstrong and sassy, like a certain cartoon character, Susie earned the nickname of Olive Oil in school, which she despised. Now, while she may have hated the description, a certain boy was drawn to the itty-bitty bold girl. His name was Thomas Simms. Susie and Tom would meet in church, where both the Pieper and Simms families were parishioners at the Church of Christ. Church life was important to Tom and Susie, and they made sure to raise their own children, Jeffrey and Christina, within their church community, which meant not only attending church, but being involved in the church itself. In the Simms involvement, it focused around music. Susie was passionate about gospel music and singing. The Simms house was always filled with the sounds of Tom and Susie performing gospel tunes, for they not only sung on Sundays, but they sung for all the parishioners' weddings and funerals. No wonder Christina became a funeral director. Thomas was Susie's first and only love. They had a marriage many can only dream of having. This is not to say their life was perfect, for nothing is. And their honeymoon certainly was not. Marrying in the month of December, a wicked winter storm snowed them in, and the newlyweds ended up having to stay at a nasty motel called the Windmill. Talk about starting off on the wrong foot. Why, that could have caused any love-sick couple to squabble. Yes, like any married couple, Tom and Susie had their spats, but they always made up. They never hid anything from their children, and thus they modeled for them what a healthy, strong marriage should look like. They had a beautiful partnership. Tom was mellow, while Susie was authoritative. She wore the pants in the family, and Tom was fine with that. Everyone knew Susie didn't have a filter, and that Tom tried to put a lid on her as often as he could. Yet, no matter what came from Susie's mouth, Tom loved her all the same, and everyone loved the Simms. The Simms' front door was always unlocked, and no one ever had to knock, for everyone was welcome. Their house was the place to be when Jack and Christina were growing up, and not just for fun. It was the house where Susie made her children and their friend Bobby Shock breakfast every morning. For Susie was the epitome of a mama bear. Protective. Jeff moving out of the family home briefly during high school, she would send Christina to school with lunch money for him. Sympathetic and compassionate. When her family members hurt, she hurt. When they cried, she cried. And when they laughed, she laughed along with them. Available and accessible. At work, should her children, grandchildren, husband, parents, siblings, other family members or friends ring, she took their calls immediately. Hardworking, clean freak, disciplinarian, homemaker. Susie's earliest occupation was working the family business, paper drywall, where even as a girl, she showed her physical strength by cutting, hanging, and mudding sheetrock. Believe me, this is not an easy job. She would leave the business and become a controller for Technicolor of Michigan, and end her career at Tim and Christina's business, Fund Services of Greater Indiana, where Tom would drive all over the state delivering and setting up supplies while Susie managed the office. When not at work, the Simms Michigan home was the epicenter for all the major holidays. Each year, Susie would say she was going to cut back on Christmas, but it never happened. She loved to decorate for the seasons, and everything had to match. Even during the chaos of the holidays, the Simms house was spotless. As children, Jeffrey and Christina were never allowed to play on Saturdays until their chores were completed. And should one try to fake clean by dusting around objects, Susie was sure to make her children redo the entire room, having them remove every item off of the tables and shelves, dusting properly, and then return those items back into their exact spot. As the homemaker, Susie was also the chef. She was an exceptional cook who loved preparing meals for her family and friends, and dinner at the Simms residence was open to everyone and anyone. During Christmas, Tom and Susie's home was filled with so much food and desserts that daughter-in-law Donnie said it appeared the family wouldn't run out of food until February. Caring. She was always the first one to step up and help out. She was the one to say, "We will figure this out," and she did. By questioning and walking through scenarios with those in trouble to find solutions, Susie figured it out. She would also play devil's advocate for people to see all sides of an issue, argument, or discussion. And by doing so, she taught her family and friends how to think deeper and how to expand their thinking outside the box. Part of Susie's caring soul was her open-mindedness. She was accepting of others, no matter your color, no matter your chosen love. And she had no tolerance for hate. She believed in helping others, equality and justice for all, long before civil rights were established. The morals and ethics that her parents instilled in her, that she and Tom later instilled in their own children. There were other qualities of Susie: her strong-willed, brutally honest, tough side, and her gullible side. She had her children's back, but if they did wrong, Susie made them pay the the consequences. To give you an example, one school day, Jeff had a girlfriend write him a sick note. Well, Mom found the note in his jean pocket. The next day, he headed to the bus, but Susie stopped him. "Nope, I'm driving you to school today." And once they arrived, she walked beside him to every teacher to witness his confession and apology. Talk about embarrassing. But Mom had taught him a valuable lesson. All these things made Susie the wonderful woman she was, and made her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren the wonderful people they are. Jeff is her troublemaker, with a fun-loving, almost goofy quality, while Christina wears her heart on her sleeve, yet tells it like it is, and rarely holds back when expressing her opinion. So, of course, there's no pressure for us that are speaking today. Both are strong-willed like their mother, And every once in a while, you can pull one over on them, like you could with Susie, such as the time that Tom and great-granddaughters Nora and Gwen took a box, punched holes into it, and placed a stuffed toy inside. The girls shaking it brought the box into the house, tricking Nana into thinking they were bringing a new pet into the home. She was none too happy at the prank, but gratefully relieved when she found out they were just playing a joke on her, which I'm sure was fair play, as Susie herself loved to joke around and be loud with laughter. Susie loved to laugh, but she also loved to dictate. Susie was going to do what Susie wanted to do, and you were going to do what Susie wanted you to do. She always wanted to feed people, and she would keep after them, wearing them down until they ate. Susie's love of food and eating was so intense, she made cookbooks for each of her children and grandchildren with the traditional measurements: a dash, a pinch, a few, some. You get the picture. Nothing exact. Cook according to look and taste, and always remember to go light on the seasonings, for you can always add more, but you can't take back what you've already poured. Some of her recipes would skip the common steps, like adding water to a pot. Just ask Jeff about the first time he made dumplings. But if you looked at the pictures she supplied and you followed the typed instructions, you could succeed at cooking and baking the way Susie did. So much history in the many recipes placed into those sleeves, including the gross ones, like her sardines. However, the one recipe, the coveted recipe, didn't make it into her cookbook, for she would tell everyone, "Over my dead body will you receive that." Well, as a parting gift, a memento, Christina has made sure each of you receives Mom's sugar cookie recipe. Another way Susie dictated was by way of compliments and complaints. She would comment about one's appearance, offering suggestions as their best look. "Jeffrey, why don't you shave?" "Christina, your previous hairstyle fit you better." Susie always had ideas as to how one could make their life and or their looks better. And if she liked something of yours, watch out. She wasn't just giving you a compliment. She was expecting you to remove the item and gift it to her. Her catchphrase, "I need that," was a good indication you should run or take off the piece of clothing or jewelry, which she loved. She really, really loved jewelry, especially earrings, which is funny because she didn't have pierced ears. Son-in-law Tim would spoil her with all sorts of jewels, and eventually grandson Jordan would become Nana's jeweler, really spoiling her once with his prized gold chain. She had been admiring it and mentioned to him that chain was so long, she figured out at least 3 bracelets could be made from it. Well, guess what happened? You got it. Jordan took the chain and had it made into 3 bracelets for her. To tell us more of his time with Nana, our next speaker is Jordan.
I did really love that chain, but it was time for a new one. So I really appreciated her wanting that. Some knew her as Susie, some knew her as Mom, but her favorite title was Nana to me, my siblings, and my cousins, and my nieces and nephew. My Nana was truly one of a kind. She was the perfect example of a matriarch for our family. She was fierce yet gentle. She never knew a stranger and welcomed any and everyone into her home with open arms. My Nana was fearless when it came to letting us know what was on her mind. It was always from a place of love, though. Sometimes tough love, because she knew that's what we needed. Some of my all-time favorite memories were in her home, putting up her Christmas tree, exploring the creek behind her house, Christmases, Easters, and learning new card games. I don't think anyone hated to lose more than me, except for Nana. The thing I admired most about my Nana was her perseverance and strength. Life was not fair to her these past few years, especially after she lost my papa, the love of her life. But you wouldn't be able to tell. Well, I'm sad she's gone. I will miss her dearly. I can't help but smile knowing that they are together again. I love you.
Christina describes her mom as having a gypsy soul, for she was never afraid of change and would try anything. You could drop her anywhere and she would survive. Case in point, the year 1999, when Susie and Tom moved to Indianapolis. Prior to their retirements, she and Tom would take the grandchildren every summer. For her grandchildren, Josh and Jamie, the trips they remember the most were the weird ones that Nana and Papa would take them on, like the Kellogg factory. There were normal trips too, train rides, Tennessee, and water parks. And every family member will tell you their favorite memories were the Michigan Christmases at Papa and Nana's house. One in particular stood out to Josh. The year he took Bennett, his white lab rat, to freak Nana out. There were other things that made Susie lose it. One that could make her almost lose her lunch: belly buttons. Specifically putting your finger into your or another person's belly button. It totally grossed her out. Once Tom and Susie retired, they moved into the role of caretaking grand and great-grandparents, and they were very involved with each one of them. When Josh was born, Christina lived with her parents for a time, and they came to think of Joshua as their baby. Supportive as always, Tom and Susie changed their work schedules so they could assist in his care. Tina swore she would never move out of her parents' home, but eventually she would move to Indiana. I think they thanked Tim more than once for that. It was a hard adjustment for her, so she traveled back to Michigan at least once a month to be with her father and mother. How wonderful was it when they retired and moved closer to her and Jeff and Dawn, who were living in Chicago. As stated previously, moving away from home is incredibly hard, no matter your age. Just as I had said, Christina swore she was never leaving home, and Susie really did worry that she and Tom would be stuck with Tina for life. When they moved to Indianapolis, it was because Tina and Tim had made them a first-time Nana. It was so important to Nana and Papa to have a close relationship with their grandchildren, not just emotionally, but physically. So they left their extended family, their friends, their security and comfort of a place they had known for the majority of their lives to be close to their grandchildren. The Simms were so close to their children that Susie and Tom would be in the delivery room for the birth of Josh, Jamie, and Jordan. And when it was time for the birth of Robbie and Anna, Susie couldn't get to Chicago fast enough. And once she arrived, she not only got to meet her grandson Robbie, she also got to see the Olympic torch being taken down Racker Drive. A letter from Robbie. Growing up, Anna and I spent a lot of time at Nana's. Both our parents had to work full-time jobs to support us, so Nana and Papa stepped in to watch us when they were at work. Nana's house was like a second home for us. We had our own favorite toys there and our favorite snacks, even if most of them were expired. From her time working at Technicolor, Nana acquired countless VHS tapes that I watched more times than I could count. But aside from all that, Nana's house felt so special because she loved us unconditionally, and I could never thank her and Papa enough for helping raise Anna and I alongside our amazing parents. As the grandchildren and great-grandchildren grew older and became involved in activities, Nana and Papa attended all their sporting events and their school events. They even adopted their grandchildren's friends and Dawn's niece, Stacy. My Nana was always accepting of everyone. When I was little, my Nana and Papa would come to Grandparents' Day at school. There were always some kids who didn't have grandparents come, and my Nana and Papa would include them in our activities and be their grandparents for the day too. My Nana welcomed my closest friends into our family. Even when life was hard on my Nana, she was always positive, funny, and loving. A note from Nana. Dawn's niece Stacy also wrote, so one story I can think of is about when I came to visit Nana, about the guy I was dating. When describing him, she told me she already knew he wasn't the one for me. The following year, I brought him to Anna's graduation, and she met him. She waited until he went into another room, and she told me I could definitely do better. Safe to say she was right, because I'm not with him anymore. The other story was when I was a little kid and being at Tom and Susie's house in Canton. I was playing with Jamie, and I remember Susie telling her something, and she said, okay, Nana. I was a little jealous that her grandkids called her Nana, but I called her Susie. I asked Dad and you if I could call her that, and you told me I would have to ask her. I was super shy when asking her, and I was in tears. She told me, of course I can call her Nana, and she gave me a big hug, and that is the rest. And the rest of that is history. There was a theme when it came to talking with her granddaughter Jamie and her great-granddaughter Nora. She would talk the future with them, future boyfriends, that is. She advised Jamie to never order spaghetti on first date because it's so messy. To Nora, her advice was to tell the boys she couldn't date because she had to see her Nana. Once Jamie married, the two discussed baby names, even though there were no babies planned. Princess, Bumblebee, and Baby, otherwise known as Nora, Gwen, and Tommy, were a source of entertainment for Nana. Tom and Susie would watch their great-grandson when Tommy was little. Nana would have Nora draw her pictures, and she would play red light, green light with both great-granddaughters. She also liked to watch them practice their gymnastics, praising Nora and Gwen for their moves, while correcting them at the same time. In the Simms family, there are no in-laws. There are only in-loves. Susie and brother-in-law Terry Mack called each other every other day, and Susie held great affection for her sister-in-laws, Frances, Terry, Polly, and her husband Ron. And everyone knew Susie liked Tim and Dawn more than she liked her own children.
That's true.
And the feeling was mutual. Tim and John adored their mom in love. Tim would lay down his life for Susie. It was never a question where she would live when her health began declining and Tom passed away. She would move in with him and Christina. Having Susie in their home was an adventure. For starters, she hated Tango the cat, but adored Tucker, aka Taco, the Chihuahua. Her little buddy hardly left her side, sleeping with her always, sticking his tiny head under her hands. Secondly, we must talk about her reading. A zealous reader, Jamie recalls only 2 days that Nana didn't pick a book up or read from her Kindle. The day that Tom passed away and the day of his funeral service. Susie would sell, trade, give away so many books, but you could never tell, for as quick as a book left her home, a new one, or 100, would appear. Now, some may read the classics, mystery, or sci-fi, but for Susie Simms, the smuttier the better. Hence why someone said, don't talk about books. For those adults in the room, the trilogy, 50 Shades of Grey, was tame compared to the books that Susie read. With the exception of one, her Bible. But no, I don't mean the good book, the Word. Susie's Bible was the National Enquirer. She loved entertainment gossip, and she loved her erotic books, even if she had to ask what some of it meant. Now, most of the family would shy away from answering her, but not Jamie and Tim. They would just lay it all out for her. And then there were the trips. When her children were young, no matter how tight money was, Tom and Susie always took Jeff and Tina on a summer vacation. There were the trips to Higgins Lake in Michigan, Ypsilanti. I said it wrong. Arkansas and Texas. The travel to these destinations was just as exciting as the arrival, for the family would stop alongside the road to picnic and then take in the beauty around them before getting back in the car and driving on. Living with Tina and Tim once a month, Susie had to get a mani-pedi and insisted on paying for an additional one for the person who drove her, which again begs me to ask the question, Tim and Jeff, what is your favorite nail color? The most important trip of all, though, was not the nail salon, but the casino. She could be in the depths of despair, having the worst day ever, and you could ask her, want to go to the casino? Susie would light up like a Christmas tree and be ready to go in an instant. The problem with this was getting her out of the gambling establishments. Her children would be in tears waiting on Susie to leave. She would forget or choose to ignore the fact that they all needed to get home for some sleep before their coming workday. Christina would also come to tears of frustration regarding Susie and Tim's relationship. Christina once made the comment she was tired of her mother and Tim's love-hate relationship, to which Susie corrected her. We have a love-love relationship. The two loved to banter back and forth, and luckily for Tina, her mom and Tim had a rule. No speaking to one another after 7 p.m. It became a running joke between the two who would check the clock first and say, it's 7 o'clock, I'm over you. As Erin mentioned, it was extremely important to her family that Susie never be institutionalized, and that when her time arrived, she pass at home on her terms. And that is exactly what happened. She was tired and ready to meet her maker, her husband, and those family members who had predeceased her. The Friday before her death, Susie knew she had suffered a stroke, and she revealed to Christina that she had seen Thomas, and he was waiting to take her to their heavenly home. She knew her time was coming to leave, so she gathered her family. She held one-on-one conversations with each person, and then slowly slipped into a coma. Christina and Tim kept her comfortable, while Jeff watched the pre-recorded Arizona-Houston baseball game by her bedside. Her passion for baseball had come from her father, and Susie enjoyed sharing that affection for the game with Jeff. Susie would pass shortly after the ninth and final inning, leaving this life on her own terms with her family by her side, receiving everything that she had wanted. She is the beginning, and she is never the end. She starts, and then she endures. She is the wisest of all creatures, carries you wherever she needs to be herself, feeds, clothes, and proudly places your distorted drawings all throughout her house. The one who birthed you, who physically released you into the world, who literally spilled blood for you, is the one who has made an incredible mark on your soul. And when she no longer occupies space and time in your lives, even after almost 8 decades, a huge shift occurs, and you feel deeply, sharply the loss. Which is why I leave you with the following sonnet. It's written by the poet Joanna Fewes about her own mother. I think of all the things you gave to me, sacrifice, devotion, love, and tears. Your heart, your mind, your energy and soul. All these you spent on me throughout the years. These things will never be forgotten and will stay with me, even through my tears. For you are not really gone, for your spirit lives on. Orphan is a term not used for people who have parents. But when those parents pass, that is exactly what we become. So how do we survive this? You, the Simms family, survive because you had the perfect role model. Because you are Arkansas hillbillies with women who really run the pack. Now, yes, I know Tim and Jeff appear to be strong men, but they too become putty at times. And even though Dawn is not a Southern gal, she has hillbilly strength like her sister-in-law. And this is how you go on. When asked what the greatest lesson Susie taught you, her children and grandchildren responded with this list. Number 1 was strength, both physical and emotional strength, morally and ethically strong. In the face of opposition, stick to your beliefs and never apologize. Never settle. Show kindness and compassion to everyone, and confidently stand up for yourself. With these lessons learned, this is how you continue to go on, and how you are now able to come forward and honor your mother. Our final speakers of the day are Susie's daughter Tina, Susie's son-in-law Tim, and last, but certainly not least, Susie's son Jeff.
So anybody that knew Mom knew that, as Wendy mentioned, every Saturday we had chores to do. Well, they're not chores that you would give your kids. This was thoroughly cleaning the house every Saturday before we went anywhere. So when Dad passed away, I asked Mom, what would you like for Dad? She told me we were going to mirror her service just like Dad's, right? Dad was in a beautiful cherry casket. About 4 months after Dad passed away, Mom came to me and said, Christina, I can't have that cherry casket. I said, but Mom, we grew up with our house full of cherry furniture. You love cherry. Yeah, no, I just can't. It's just going to get too dusty. So anybody who knows Mom knows that, would understand that. That's something that she would say. So I didn't have the heart to let her know that, Ma, anything you're in is going to get pretty darn dusty. But so thus we don't have a cherry casket today. But I just thought that was a fun story to share with you. But and I had asked her 4 or 5 times, Mom, are you sure you love cherry? Oh no, she was positive. And so one day we brought her here to the funeral home, and she got to choose her own. So, but no cherry for her. So, Tim.
No one ever understood Susie and mine's connection. It never changed in the more than 35 years we were together. Some thought it was a love-hate relationship. It wasn't. It was a constant battle of button pushing and pot stirring, and neither one of us would have ever admit defeat. Until today. I know you won't. Most of you know that Susie only had one way of doing things, and that was her way, the Susie way. Susie never met a stranger and always found a way to connect with everyone she met. Whether you were 10 to 90, it didn't matter. When you met Susie, she considered you family. In the past month, we talked about so many of you. From Sherry and Shaw at Technicolor nearly 20 years ago, to Jay and Nate from Fund Services, to times before I was even around. Getting caught smoking at age 12 in Arkansas with her favorite cousins, and of course the now infamous mashed potato incident of 1990. I'll share more later. Susie loved to love and spread it in her way, her own special way. Some didn't understand her love language was sarcasm and teasing. She was proud of her Southern heritage, her hardworking daddy, her strong-willed mother, her loving brothers and sisters. One of our last conversations was about how happy she was watching her children become parents and carrying on her legacy of love for family.
All right, so my mother loved this hat, and she loved this shirt, and that was about all I ever wore that she kind of loved. So she would always do this. I just love this shirt. Okay? So my sister told me to take as much time as I needed. So that's what I heard. Minnie K's all comfortable, so we're good to go here. I get 5 minutes. Okay.
No, 3.5.
So we're cutting into my time as usual. Okay. So I was saying last night after the baseball game about what was my earliest memory of my mom, and sometimes there's a smell or a sound that reminds you of things, and there's other ones that may have been a little earlier, but this one really sticks with me. Is we were coming back from a Tigers game, and in Grandpa's car, Cadillac or Lincoln, one or the other, right? Big car. So we're coming back, and I was tired, and I laid up against my mom's arm, and she put her arm around me, and it covered up this ear, but my other ear was leaning against her, and I could kind of hear what the other people were saying, but I could hear every time that my mom talked, through her body there. And I remember that I just was thinking that this is so safe. This is like so secure, and like, as long as she's around, um, I'll be okay. And that, because my mother could be very, very loving and beautiful, and then if you crossed her or messed with her kids, she was like this Arkansas water moccasin, where, not a rattlesnake, because you would hear that coming. Water moccasin, you really don't hear, but it's like, oh man, I just got bit. Okay. So one time I was coming home from school, me and Bobby Shock and these three guys came up and started messing with us. He got away, ran and grabbed my mom. She came back, threw two of the boys off of me, and the other one wasn't on me. And she goes, I know who your moms are, and if you ever look at my kid again, I'm talking to your mom. So they never really messed with me after that. So yes, my mother came to my rescue with that. When I was a kid in high school, I was fat, so people would call me Fat Sims. And I told my mother it upset me, and she said, you got one of two choices. You can let it upset you, or you can say, call me Fat Sims one more time, and I'm going to hit you. And I'm like, but I'll get kicked out of school. And she goes, you ain't going to get kicked out of school. So I'm like, cool, I can hit somebody and I won't get kicked out of school. So a couple days later, I'm called Fat Sims, and I said, if you call me Fat Sims again, I'm going to hit you. So I hauled off and clocked him. And now we're in the office, and the principal calls my mom saying that your son has been in a fight and he's going to get 3 days. Now you can hear my mother through the phone saying, you asked that other boy if he called him Fat Sims. And I go, tell him. And he goes, yeah, I call him Fat Sims. Ask him if my son said, if you call me Fat Sims again, I'm hitting you. Yeah, I did that. And then my mother went on a rant, and then he hung up the phone and looked at me and goes, you can go back to class. You're getting 3 days. So this happened like 2 more times, and then the word kind of got around that I'll hit you. And I never cared if I lost or not, but we would go in, and they would call the other parent. The kid would go, why aren't you calling Jeff's mom? And he would go, no. Jeff is not getting 3 days. You called him Fat Sims. Even I know that this is what's going to happen. Okay. Now, after my dad had went away, I stayed with my mom for about 6 months because I was the only one that could work out of the house. So I was there like 5 or 6 days a week, and like Wendy had said, and thank you again. That was very beautiful. Thank you so much. That was very, very nice. While I was staying there, one of the things I got to do was I got to cook for my mom because she kind of taught me how to cook. And that's why there's measuring spoons are optional. Because my Aunt Minnie will go, well, how do you make this? I go, well, you put some of this in and some of that in. And she's like, I need like a measuring thing. And I'm like, oh, you put in less than that. It's hard to take the stuff out. So I really did enjoy cooking for her, and she liked my cooking. And then every now and then she would even say something like, well, Jeffrey, this tastes better than the way I made it. And I'm like, yeah, all right. This is so cool. So one of the things we loved doing, and this is before she had her hearing aids, because we made her get hearing aids, was we would watch Jeopardy. So I'd have to yell out all of the answers so that she could hear them. And I'm actually pretty good at Jeopardy. And she would go, man, Jeff, you're just so smart. And I'm like, I have useless information in my brain that I just regurgitate during these Jeopardy shows. Now, the one thing that my mother and I really enjoyed doing the most was watching baseball games. But I did get her to watch the Olympics, and I'm like, come on, we're going to watch curling. And she goes, this is the most stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. They're just throwing stuff on ice. After the first game, she's like, okay, record all of those. This is a great game. This is so much fun. And there's women and men competing against each other. I'm like, yeah, that's called mixed doubles. Wow. But baseball. Baseball was the coolest thing ever. Now, if there wasn't baseball games on, I did find this station on Comcast that showed old baseball games. And they had the Kerry Woods 20 strikeout game against Houston, which my wife and I went to, and we sat first row with our elbows on the brick wall there at Wrigley Field. So I'm like, come on, we're going to watch this. And there's this one spot where Mark Grace is going to put his feet apart like this to catch a ball, and I'm going to be right in between his legs like this. And so we're watching, and I freeze frame, and she goes, that looks good, but you know, you're right in between his legs. I go, I told you that's where I was going to be. I'm in between his legs. She goes, there's just something wrong about that, Jeff. I'm like, yeah, but I was there. If there wasn't a game to watch, we would watch baseball movies. All right, movies about baseball. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen Bull Durham, but completely forgot about the 10-minute scene in the bedroom, and I'm sitting there with my mother, and I'm like, I'm 58 years old, and I'm so uncomfortable. Okay? The Cub games, the funniest thing she said to me was, I don't understand why you don't get upset every time the Cubs lose. And I said, I would be upset all summer if I got upset when the Cubs lose. So I will just leave you with one last little story about how funny and cool my mom could be. When I was in high school, I had left a pack of zigzag rolling papers in my pocket, and she did my laundry. So I come home, and I'm trying to find my papers. I'm going through the garbage can, and she goes, are you looking for those orange papers? And I'm like, yes. And she goes, it's not in that garbage bag. It's in another one out in the garage, and you might just want to go buy yourself a new bag of rolling papers. I'm like, well, why did you throw them away? And she said, what am I supposed to do, put them on your bed? And I'm like, well, that would be nice. 3 weeks later, I come home from school, I go in my bedroom, and here on the bed is a pack of orange zigzag rolling papers that I had forgotten inside of my pants, and I went up to her, and she said, I thought you would get a kick out of that. And that pretty much sums up my mother, and I know that I speak for my sister and myself, that we really do thank everyone for coming out. My mother would love this. She loved all of you, and she had such a big heart. And I promised the last time. When most people get older, they become closed-minded and less exceptional. My mother was the exact opposite. Every year she got older, her mind became more open, and she became more inclusive of everyone, no matter what they believed or thought. And that's very rare in human beings. So I just hope that everyone here, every day you're getting a little older, your mind should be a little more open, and you should be more accepting of everything, because not everything is going to be your way. So I thank you all very much for coming out. We will go to the cemetery after this, and then my sister and I would like everyone to come back, and we're going to have a meal, and then Tim in the back is going to take over from here, correct? I said all that right? Okay, beautiful. Okay, thank you.
It was very kind of you. You're very
If you care to pass by the casket, pay your final respects, you're welcome to do so in the back of the room, and then we'll open these side doors where you can carry on your vehicles. Pallbearers can wait here in the hallway for further instructions. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a nice service. Thank you so much. Yes. She doesn't know.
Well, they're gonna ride in their own cars. They just have to use it. Yeah, I know. I just didn't appreciate it. I'll stay too. Y'all stay. Yep. Love those things. There's those like those muscle things that I have my shoulders girls, remember?
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Okay, man, she's gonna do that now.
So that sounded like she's a celebrant. So,
You didn't put the car in the.
No,
Okay,
You
you
said
could just, yeah, so just right, you and Jerry can drive with us.
I'm driving.
Oh, you're fine, you can,
Good, how are you?
Nobody except the generic tries.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we do. Yes.
his grandma would sure say second class. His grandma would sure second class.
Yes.
be safe.
Oh, that's okay. Are you guys good?
Yes. No, I'm heading home. Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah,
Trying to get it.
yeah, right, exactly.
Thanks for calling.
Very briefly, you
This isn't
Well, she was happier that I was alive. She would tell me that all the time. She said, I'm doing the right thing. We had a little remote connection. I was just happy to be I'm thinking that's a booger coming out of your nose. It's like entangled. Ben, only one chair, buddy. You only need one chair, buddy.
I don't think Anna likes me after the game.
You just sit back. Yeah, Josh was taking
Yeah, maybe you'll learn.
That was probably the best part when he busted through the door because Jeff was taking some. Sir, your time is up. Pulls him out.
Every time I hear her name, I'm like, what is this? Erica.
No ferocious. That one was not ferocious.
It's like, so she told us, like, it's like drive there, say a prayer, drive there.
And the car.
I mean, remember that one time you were so mad and you were stubborn as shit? No. I remember the day we got KFC and he didn't want to eat it. I was negotiating with him. But over the years, I just told the truth. So if you told her, I was like laying on top of them, forcing them down the service.
Yeah. Probably people who got related.
I thought he was like asking.
Like Joshua?
And everyone else up there is
Josh, this is Chris Francis.
I'm a pirate.
If you're smart, you know who's in charge. Like, it's just easier.
Once families most of the time they wish the casket, you're welcome to carry on your vehicles with the exception of all their.
Tommy, you're an honorary officer, so with Anna.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's what Nana said, that she wanted.
He runs. Where's John?
Sure. You guys lose, some guys are gonna wait. Yeah, others are over there in the hall, so we'll
We've all picked her up once in this room, right? We can do it one more time. Do it one more time. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if everybody'd like to approach the casket.
Hey guys, for the pallbearers and honorary pallbearers.
No, stupid. The other way.
Oh, yeah.
I never was sweet.
Robbie there?
I thought they were just being mean to each other.
Robbie's washing his hands.
Yeah, it's okay. She always winked at me after. Like, yeah, like she would give him, like mess with him and make him mad, and then she'd look at me and like, every time. Where's Robbie?
We do.
Robbie's
Robbie's
coming.
coming.
Was he moving?
Let's hope not.
Yeah. 12 minutes, he knew exactly.
Tommy's gonna stand next to Tom and Josh, and then Jamie and Ann. So I don't know where Jamie is.
That's fine. They can meet. We're fine here. Go meet us at the back of the coach at the cemetery. Space here. Yep. Hey, Wilma, you gotta shoot him out of there. Thank you.
Love you.
Are you guys going to the cemetery? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and take your vehicles then. Here we're gonna go. I gotta go find my keys.
Yes. Okay. That's okay.
If you get it out, I will put it in.
Oh Lord, my God, when night in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, it is well with my soul, my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great
Don't know why, but they did. So, do you want me to put those chairs back on that Gucci?
What happened to those hairs?
Well, there's some new stuff. How many did we have altogether? I don't remember.
So it's supposed to be 6 in a row, and then
Okay, so these are, since he brought that on, I'm just gonna sit this here, in case we see something else. I don't know why people with daughters.
right, if you get them, take them with you or bring them. Sorry, I was stuffing my face.
How do these go?
No. Yep, just like that.
Come on, baby.
I know that's a problem.
Coming around here.
These over.
Here, move it.
I gotta wash my hands before I touch something with this hand.
Be careful. I can't do too many things.
I think you know.
I'll let you do this one. You be careful. All right. Here.
Push it. It's better to push.
All right. Is that going through the double doors?
Yep.
You answer it, I'll do this.
Or are we going to have a celebration? No, I'm sitting here and you love you.
For a long time I've traveled down a long, lonely road. My heart was so heavy, it said I sank low. Then I heard about Jesus. What a wonderful hour. I'm so glad that I found out He would bring me out through His saving power. Thank God I am free, free, free from this world of sin. I've been washed in the blood of Jesus. I've been born again. Hallelujah, I'm saved, saved, saved by His wonderful grace. I'm so glad that I found out He would bring me out and show me the way. Like a bird out of prison that's taken its flight, like a blind man that God gave back his sight, like a poor wretched beggar who's found fortune and fame. I'm so glad that I found out He would bring me out through His holy name. Thank God I am free, free, free from this world of sin. I've been washed in the blood of Jesus. I've been born again. Hallelujah, I'm saved, saved, saved by His wonderful grace. I'm so glad that I found out He would bring me out and show me the way. Thank God I am free, free, free from this world of sin. I've been washed in the blood of Jesus. I've been born again. Hallelujah, I'm saved, saved, saved by His wonderful grace. I'm so glad that I found out He would bring me out and show me the way. I'm so glad that I found out He would bring me out and show me the way. Thank God I am free. Some gonna sing, I'm gonna take to the air, I'm gonna leave this world of solitaire. I hear the welcome bells are ringing, home I'll be winging when they call my name. Some of this morning they'll be calling my name, calling me yonder to the heavenly plain. When I see them swinging like the pearly gates, I'll be ready, I won't have to hesitate. Then I'll be flying high just like a bird in the sky, and I'll be leaving this world and I'll be saying goodbye. And there is nothing to lose and everything to gain when they call my name. Come on, son, always they'll be calling my name, and they'll be singing out in the heavenly plain. And we'll stand here singing heavenly days. I'll be ready, I won't have to hesitate. And I'll be flying high like a bird in the sky, and I'll be leaving this world and I'll be saying goodbye. And there is nothing to lose and everything to gain when they call my name. I'll be ready, I won't have to hesitate. I'll be ready, I won't have to hesitate. Oh, when they call my name.
Amber, do you need me to do anything else? I'd be more, I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you for coming and helping today.
That's okay. I'm gonna put this outside, and then
Okay.
I will get my purse. But if you need me to do anything else, you got everything? Huh? Where, you want me to put them all on that table? You want me to put them on that, where they put the little body, or you want me, so she all gather at once?
Pretty much gathered together except for that one there.
If that goes in.
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above. For a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? And now that I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the While we're here, let's trust the Lord. He'll lead us safe to our reward, and by His grace, we'll be a winner either way. I'm a winner either way. If I go or if I stay, I will still have my Jesus each passing day. I'll have a healing here below, or life forever. If I go, oh praise the Lord, I'm a winner either way. I'm a winner either way. If I go or if I stay, I will still have my Jesus each passing day. I'll have a healing here below, or life forever. If I go, oh praise the Lord, I'm a winner either way. Oh praise the Lord, I'm a winner either way. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of divine. There's salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst on my sight. Angels descending, rain from above, echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.
All right, push it down.